Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of this new podcast. I am Taylor Jackson, as you probably know since you clicked on the link that had the name in it. So I'm doing this podcast for a number of reasons. The first reason, I guess, is a little bit selfish. So before I was any good at doing video specifically, I was already a photographer, and really to kind of looking to break into actually doing proper video production. And rather than going to school for it, we just set out and we created this documentary that's called Startup Community. It's about kind of the local startup scene in the Kitchener-Waterloo area, which is where I'm from, up here about an hour west of Toronto in Canada. And I just decided that that would be my film school, that I would go out and I would figure out how to produce a professional looking piece, and something that the community was excited about, so that I was able to get people a little bit more excited to be a part of it. And then every interview, I just learned something. I figured something out a little bit more. Obviously, I had the basics together before I began the project, but my thought with the podcast is essentially that I want to get better at being able to speak in a single flow. So I am a very introverted human being by nature, and my thought process as far as like when I've been creating videos in the past is that my thoughts go very fragmented. So I'll have maybe like 10, 15 seconds of good flow, and then I'll get nervous or uncomfortable and it'll stop there. And then I'll have to kind of like slam cut these videos together. I'm sure if you've watched any of my past videos that they're very, very slam cut together, and it's kind of like it almost speeds up the pacing and creates more efficiency, what I do like. But unfortunately, it's not as fluid as I wanted it to be. So the idea with this podcast for me is my personal development of actually being able to speak coherently and convey a story across time without stopping and starting and needing a whole lot of editing. So those are my thoughts for this. And the idea is pretty much like, I'm going to answer any questions. I've been a photographer for over 15 years now. I've been a professional photographer, I would say like 12, 13, 14 years, making my full-time living as a photographer. So if you have any questions at all when it comes to photography or running a business or travel even, I'm happy to answer as many questions as I can on this podcast. So the way that you do that is you head over to my Patreon page, which is patreon.com/Taylor Jackson, and there will be a link to it's an open subject that you're able to just comment without having to like buy into the Patreon or anything like that. If you do want to purchase your way into the Patreon subscription, you're more than welcome to. Inside there, I have my pricing documents. I have like probably an hour, 45 minutes of pricing, videos and content, as well as like my contract. And I'm putting up a 20 video course tomorrow, and then probably next week I will be doing a hybrid photography course, which is actually something that I still feel is a little bit ahead of its time. So I released this. It was essentially I guess like the background of this is that I shoot photography and video at the majority of my weddings, and I find that the couples leave a lot happier whenever they book photo video coverage, or if the video is like a very last minute add-on. They're like, oh, we didn't know if we would actually like video, and they add it on. They usually find that like little highlight film to be the best part of their the wedding day experience. And obviously they need images as well as video, but I think that my couples that get dual coverage, hybrid coverage, are a lot happier overall. And obviously as a photographer, it's a little bit more financially beneficial for me to do both, because I do make a little bit more money on each of those packages. So that course will be going up next week. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about hybrid photography coverage. And I know that this podcast will be primarily photography based, but I feel like these genres are kind of blending together a little bit more. And the reason that I said that the hybrid photography course is a little bit ahead of its time still, I know that there are a lot of people doing it, but the majority of people that are doing it are not doing it kind of as one person, where you go out and you do both photography and video coverage, that you're hiring somebody that does video and you're both kind of working together and they're working under the umbrella of your company. What I plan to be doing, and what I can hopefully inspire a few more people to begin to do, is to be able to do it as one person. And what it does on a wedding day, your second photographer is again like kind of support for both photography and video at that point, so that they can go to the groom's house or just like wherever you are not, and they can get like those like 5 video clips that they need, and they can get the photography that they need. or that you need to deliver to your couple, but you're not relying on them to produce a full video or anything like that. And I think the benefit of being able to do both very efficiently and very effectively and very professionally is that it kind of goes across all platforms. So when I'm traveling, I am taking photos and I am taking videos, and I have a very good understanding of what is a photo moment and what is a video moment. And I think that the more you're able to kind of step back and understand that like this is an image that I want to capture versus this is a story that I want to tell. And I know that there is kind of like an intrinsic, you can tell a story through a single photograph or a series of photographs, but I think that for the most part, by creating like a proper video, you do a greater service to the story. And maybe that's a little controversial, I don't know. I've just found that when I'm out and I can take those like really, I'm going to call it like the Instagram photo, that I can take those 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 really, really fantastic shots. And outside of that, what I'm looking for is the story that I want to actually piece together into a video. And if you develop the skills to go out in the world and to travel, you can create some really, really insanely good content that in previous lifetimes or even like 5 years ago would have required a full team to go out and produce that level of content. So moving into a wedding day, my outlook on hybrid photography is that I very much have those specific moments that are photo moments, which are like the family photos, which are a few great photos of the couple. But a lot of the moments that I used to kind of do a little bit more candid in as far as photography goes are moving towards video. So all the in-between moments, I find that I'm shooting video of them. I also find that I'm shooting a lot tighter whenever I'm doing video as well, that I kind of focus on the people that I know are the most important to the story. And I'm not doing a whole lot of candids outside of that. I will include wide shots, but I'm not focusing very heavily on including every single person that's at the wedding in the video. Whereas with photography, I do like to have a candid or kind of a group shot or something of pretty much everyone that's at the wedding. And if there are 150 people at that wedding, I think that is a totally reasonable thing to do. So in hybrid photography, video coverage, if there is a moment, specifically the first kiss is the only one that I can think of that you have to do both photo and video of it. There are a few ways. I'm going to go much more into detail in the Patreon course, but I'll give away a few secrets here right now since you're listening. Number one is that I just picked up a GoPro 7, and even though it is a GoPro and it looks borderline unprofessional, it is a fantastic camera. I am completely blown away by the quality, the fact that it looks like it's on like a handheld gimbal or a Steadicam, and you're just hand holding just like the physical small camera. And I have no idea how they put this together, but it is really, really, really phenomenal. It's also, I would say, the most versatile travel camera that you can purchase right now in the world. So if you're looking for like a travel video camera, the audio on it is finally good enough to be usable. My issue for a long time was that you get like that GoPro, the scratchy sound, anytime you touch it or move it. And then beyond that, the audio just was not very good overall. I find that the GoPro 7 is actually significantly better. And then like as far as versatility goes, the underwater features are amazing. The fact that you don't have to worry if you go out in the rain that you can get those shots that might ruin your digital SLR. And also I like the simplicity of it, that if you need a shot of yourself doing something, that you just point it at yourself. Pretty much everything's in focus, or everything I guess is in focus. Infinity point on it is very, very close, maybe like 2 feet. Don't quote me on that. But so I really, really like it as a travel camera. And moving it into weddings, it is the easiest thing if you just have it in your back pocket, like literally in your back pocket, to pull it out for the first kiss, to get a wide shot of that, or to even get some shots that look like handheld gimbal shots. What I do usually now, or at least I'm experimenting with this, I feel like this entire industry is kind of in a discovery stage, a transitional stage. And what I'm doing right now that I find works the best is, as I'm doing photos, say the bride and groom are, they've just they've just been married, or the bride and bride, or groom and groom, have just been married at the end of the aisle, and they're walking back towards you, and I'm taking pictures of them. I also have my GoPro out right underneath the lens, so the way that I'm supporting kind of the lens with my other hand, where I would usually be kind of having my hand on the focus ring or on the lens hood, at that point, I'm just holding the GoPro underneath to get that nice like tracking shot as I go back. And obviously I'm super aware of the fact that I'm holding a camera and that I can't just be like shaking and switching to like portrait, vertical mode and back. I'm completely aware that I'm shooting both platforms, I guess. But I think that after you do maybe 10 or 12 weddings, you really do get good and dialed in your technical, so you don't have to worry as hard. I think if you are going, maybe you're in the position that you're going into your like second or third or maybe your first ever wedding, and at that point I don't recommend that you do like photo video coverage, because that's kind of a lot for your brain to process on that day. But I think that once you have even just a couple of weddings under your belt and you've solved all the problems that you typically find yourself in on a wedding day, after that I feel like things can really accelerate quickly. And I think that by building kind of hybrid coverage into the groundwork of your business, I think that that is something that's super, super positive for you, both as future proofing yourself, also making more money on a wedding day. And also my commercial clients now, that's what they're looking for, that they don't want to hire a full video team and a full photo team unless they're doing some like insane budget commercial production that they're going to be putting on the Super Bowl or television. If they are just doing something that's for like social media use, for their website use, if they're filming a promotional video, they want still images as well as moving images of those scenes. So if you can position yourself as a hybrid media creator, that is something that I think is going to not necessarily immediately set you apart, but it is something that once you start working lots of jobs, that people will really start to, they can't really replace you anymore. And I find that for wedding photography, when couples start looking at my work and comparing it to other people in town, there's very, very few comparison elements, I guess, that they can draw from, because they're getting everything for such a good package with one person. And if they get along with me, hopefully that's a good thing. If they don't get along with me, that's I guess to bring it back a little bit more, I think that if couples get along with you, that's awesome. If they don't get along with you, that's also awesome. As long as you know that before, or even with like the first inquiry. So do everything you can on your website to make sure that it is your personality, so that if somebody comes into your website, that if they're not somebody that you connect with, you want to like force that disconnect as fast as possible, so that you don't accidentally end up booking brides and grooms brides and brides, grooms and grooms that you're really not 100% in love with shooting the wedding. And I think that I really figured this out maybe, I would say 5 years ago, that I really started to be very, very, very particular of who I would kind of pursue the booking path with. And what that means is basically that like when I respond that I'm available for their date, if I see really any red flags, like if I respond and I'm like, hey, still available for your date, here's my pricing list, would love to have a phone call or get together in person if it works out, if you guys are local to the area, if that happens and then they respond with like the 50 questions that the knot has, like, do you have backup gear, all those questions, like how do you define your style, which is the worst question of all time. It's like, you've seen my images enough and you like them enough to inquire, so why are you asking me what my style is when you can see it? Also, my answer to that question, because it still does come up from time to time, even though it's a bit annoying, I think that sometimes couples, when they meet with you, they just need things to ask. So they come with a list as a bit of a safety net if they're like maybe introverted, maybe not used to just like immediately having a rapport with strangers, which I totally get, because that is kind of my personality as well. My answer to that is that my photography style pretty much completely depends on the couple, and it is a liquid style that adapts to whatever's happening on the day. And if I need to shoot at nighttime, like flash only, I will do that. If I want to, if I'm able to shoot natural light, that's awesome. But it's like whatever box that their wedding kind of fits me in, I am able to do my best work based on those elements given. Obviously, I do prefer to have like golden hour natural light evening time, because it's super easy to create amazing images, but I don't necessarily like I won't only pick a wedding based on the fact that the ceremony is at 5 p.m. and our photo session is from 6 to 7. If it's a nighttime ceremony and I have to do all the family formals after the wedding, that's totally fine. Am I going to put that up on my website? Probably not, because I find shooting in those conditions, I don't create my best work overall. I create great work within those conditions, but I don't create the work that makes me like crazy excited to get up every day. I really, really love, just like sunset, and I would say I'm almost like leaning towards blue hour a little bit more now, but I'm really, really a big fan of golden hour and how much you can do so quickly. And especially if I'm shooting photo video coverage, which does build in a little bit more stress than a typical wedding day. If I'm doing that, then I really do want kind of my perfect timeline of a wedding. And if I have to shoot everything after dark and I'm doing photo video coverage, or it's a winter wedding and we can't get outside, it really does create a lot of stress in my mind. So I would 100% prefer to have, I guess, the best of all possibilities when I know that I'm going in to a stressful environment, already shooting a lot of coverage, and also doing it in a difficult scenario. Just, I don't know, makes my life hard. See, I'm learning. Rambled for a little bit there, but pulled it together in the end. All right, so that is the end of episode 1. If you are interested in asking me a question, feel free to do that. Head over to patreon.com/Taylor Jackson, and there'll be a link to the post there. You can plug your question in, and I will get to as many as I can over the lifetime of this podcast. So thanks for listening to episode number 1, and hopefully you enjoyed this. And I'm happy to, I guess, like as my photography style goes, I'm happy to kind of tailor this podcast to whatever is going to end up helping the most people. So let me know how to do that, because I feel like I have been in the industry for a very long time, and I do have a lot of knowledge in all different aspects and genres within photography. So happy to help in whatever way that I can. I am Taylor Jackson, and I'll see you another time. I have to work on the closing. I'm in Niagara on the lake right now for engagement session. It's very nice. Kind of before that.